right, welcome to another deep dive with us. You know how this works by now. We take something complex, break it down, and get you informed. Today, we're focusing on something I think we're all feeling right now.
Yeah, it's pretty timely for sure.
Social media. Or rather, what comes after social media? Can we actually fix it?
Right.
Specifically, we're looking at the Forum Initiative and their whole plan for a different kind of online network. They actually put out this pretty detailed report, so we're going to use that.
And that's what we do here, right? Go straight to the source and try to understand it.
Exactly. The goal is to figure out their core ideas, how they plan to build this thing, and most importantly, how they want to solve some of these problems that, let's face it, are kind of plaguing the internet right now.
I mean, nobody can argue with that. It's everywhere you look.
So look, social media started with all this promise, right? Connecting with people, sharing ideas.
Right.
But I think we all see the downsides now too. The anxiety, the comparisons, the feeling like you're always missing out.
Absolutely. And it's not just in our heads either. The Surgeon General even issued an advisory this year, directly linking all this online time, especially for young people, to some serious mental health concerns.
Yeah. The report mentioned depression, anxiety, loneliness. It's a lot.
And that's not even getting into the whole misinformation problem. It's like people can't even have a normal conversation online anymore without, falling into these echo chambers and getting like totally polarized.
And that's exactly where the Forum Initiative comes in, right? They're calling it a reimagined approach to online connection. They're really pushing these four core principles: transparency, equity, sustainability, and inclusivity. And everything they're doing is supposed to be built around these.
Right. So transparency means basically they want everything about the network to be open and accountable. Equity means everyone has a fair shot on the platform. Sustainability is about building ethical systems that can last. And inclusivity means making sure everyone feels welcome and safe to participate.
Okay, so those are the big ideas, but how are they actually planning to structure this network?
Well, one of the things that stands out is their kind of multi-tiered design. So they're envisioning these local forums, kind of like at the community level, and those would feed into regional councils. And then all of that would eventually come together in a global forum network. So it's this layered approach, right? It's like they're really trying to bring local voices into these bigger conversations.
And to kind of keep everything on track, they've got this thing they're calling the Constitution of Office Framework, or COOF.
Yeah, it's a kind of a mouthful.
It is, but basically it's like the rule book for the whole network. It sets ethical and technological boundaries, kind of like, the Constitution does for our country. It's like they're building a digital public square, but with some guardrails already in place.
And that's smart, right? I mean, it's a way to try to address these problems with online discourse from the very beginning.
Oh, absolutely. Now, one of the most interesting parts of this whole initiative is their use of AI. They've created this AI assistant called Civic AI, and it's designed to provide unbiased information and civic education.
Really interested. So, like, what does that actually mean in practice?
So the idea is that Civic AI can analyze policy data, answer user questions about, civic issues, and even personalize civic education content. And they were really careful about the design principles here. It's all built around transparency, inclusivity, and ethical leadership.
Yeah, that makes sense. The potential for accessible, unbiased information is huge. But of course, the big question is whether the AI can actually live up to those principles.
Exactly. And I think that's something they're going to have to prove as they develop it. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about the Forum Social Network itself, or FSN as they call it. This is the actual platform where people will connect and interact.
Right. So, like, how is it actually different from what we have now?
So they're really focusing on three core ideas: algorithmic transparency, ethical data practices, and proactive strategies for combating misinformation.
So, no more shady algorithms that no one understands.
Well, that's the goal. They want to make the content flow understandable to users. And with ethical data practices, they're putting a big emphasis on privacy and security.
Makes sense. I mean, those are two areas where, existing platforms have really fallen short.
Absolutely. And the whole thing about proactively combating misinformation, that's key. Because right now, it feels like we're playing catch-up.
Yeah, for sure. So how are they planning to roll this whole thing out?
So their roadmap is called the MVP roadmap, and it's divided into 3 phases. The first phase, which they're saying will take 1 to 3 months, is all about getting the basics right. So they're focusing on their content and engagement strategy. Think policy discussions, legislative analysis, even partnering with other organizations that share their values.
So building the foundation, making sure the right people are involved from the get-go.
Exactly. And they're also going to be refining the onboarding process, how people sign up and get started on the platform. And then there's branding and messaging, making sure the whole thing is clear and appealing to users. Finally, they're going to launch a pilot project, which will be a chance to test out the platform in a real-world setting.
Yeah, got to start somewhere.
And they're really emphasizing respectful discussion rules in that pilot project, which I think is really important.
Yeah, I mean, setting the right tone from the start.
Absolutely. So phase two is all about feature enhancement. This is where they're going to be building out the core functionalities of the platform. They're talking about tools for policy debates, a transparent voting system so people can actually, weigh in on issues and potentially even influence policy. And then this is where they're going to fully integrate civic AI. This phase is supposed to take about 3 to 6 months.
Right, so this is where things get really interesting.
Yeah. And they're going to continue building partnerships with educational institutions, advocacy groups, expanding the whole ecosystem around the platform. And they're also talking about diversifying the content, maybe doing podcasts, providing summaries of policy debates, and just creating a lot of resources for civic engagement.
This is where the real work begins, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. And then, of course, there's community moderation. They're planning on having volunteer moderators and really clear policies to keep things civil.
That's huge.
And they're going to be tracking metrics for success, things like user growth, engagement, and ultimately their impact on policy.
But it makes sense.
Right.
What gets measured gets managed.
Right. So the final phase is all about scaling the initiative. They're aiming to expand to other regions, developing a model that can be replicated elsewhere. They're even looking at potentially using blockchain technology to enhance transparency and security. Yeah, it's ambitious. And then there's the whole financial sustainability question. They're talking about things like campaign donation rebates, maybe even creating a Civcoin reserve.
Interesting.
And then, of course, partnerships and grants are always on the table. And their goal is to ultimately have a national, even global impact.
Ambitious indeed. It sounds like they're really thinking long term here.
Oh, absolutely. So, to sum it all up, the Forum Initiative is bringing some really interesting ideas to the table. They've got clear core principles, a multi-tiered network structure, a proactive ethical framework, an innovative AI tool, and a phased rollout plan that directly addresses the problems with social media that we're all experiencing right now. But they're also realistic about the challenges ahead, making AI truly unbiased, scaling moderation effectively, keeping people engaged long term, making those algorithms truly transparent, finding a sustainable way to fund the whole thing, and just navigating the complexities of growth.
It's a lot, but it's encouraging to see someone actually trying to tackle these problems head on.
And that's the point of this deep dive, right? To give you, the learner, a glimpse into what a different kind of online future could look like. I'm curious, what bothers you most about social media right now? And do you think any of the ideas we talked about today could actually make a difference? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.